From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. The U.S. Surgeon General is in Montana this week to assess the state's COVID-19 situation. He said there are some positive signs, but people need to continue what they're doing to slow the spread. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian reports.
On Thursday, U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams joined Governor Steve Bullock for a news conference at the Montana State Capitol. Adams noted the country is currently going through some of its deadliest days for COVID-19, but he said he sees reason for optimism.
Montana has proven that these mitigation efforts work.
Adams said he's pleased to see that the rate of positive COVID tests in the state has gone down in recent weeks. He credited that to people taking steps like wearing masks, distancing, and keeping gatherings small.
We know more than we ever have before about this virus, and we know statistically that your efforts are working to slow the spread.
However, he remained concerned that many Montana hospitals remain close to capacity.
That means if you aren't scared of the virus, you still may not be able to get a hospital bed if you have a heart attack, if you're in labor, if you get into a car accident, because there may not be a bed available.
Adams acknowledged some people have questions about the health guidance they hear, since experts have changed their advice as they learn more about the virus. But he said data now shows clearly that masks work to limit the spread, and that the new vaccines will be safe and effective.
We will have more data on the safety of these vaccines at the point of administering them to people than we've had for any other vaccine in history.
Bullock said the state expects to get its first shipment of vaccines next week once they are federally approved. They hope to have 60,000 people receive a first dose by the end of the year, starting with healthcare workers. Adams noted tribal communities have been hit particularly hard by COVID. On Friday, he'll travel to the Fort Peck Reservation for the opening of a surge testing site. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Bullock said nearly 300 healthcare workers from outside Montana are now contracted to work in the state to help hospitals under strain. Meanwhile, the state of Montana reported 725 new cases today, while Montana counties have seen 15 additional deaths since last night. Here in Yellowstone County, Health Officer John Felton says the number of COVID-19 cases per 100,000 has dropped in the last few weeks, but that the number remains dangerously high. Because of that and the uncertainty after Thanksgiving, Felton will extend his November 19th health order through January 31st, 2021, limiting gatherings, occupancy, and forcing most businesses to close by 10 p.m. However, to keep commercial freight moving through the state, the new health order does ease some commercial fuel regulations. County health officials saw a jump in COVID-19 cases today to 147, but have not noticed a big rise in cases since Thanksgiving.
You can't draw significant conclusions off one day's worth of data. We're really not convinced yet that there's not going to be a Thanksgiving surge, but we're certainly hopeful. The farther we get from Thanksgiving, the safer it becomes that we avoided a significant surge.
Felton says St. Vincent Healthcare and Billings Clinic expect to receive a first round of vaccines as early as next week, but it will be less than 2,000 doses. He says the frontline tier of healthcare workers who have direct contact with COVID-19 patients will take all or virtually all of those doses. The health department is also partnering with How Right Now to help community members deal with the feelings of loss, grief, and worry that the pandemic has created. That information, along with other free mental health resources for Montanans, can be found in this story on ktvq.com. The first coronavirus vaccine in the U.S. is on the verge of being approved for emergency use. A group of experts endorsed the one made by Pfizer today. All that remains now is for the FDA to sign off on it. Skylar Henry has more.
But also no data.
An FDA advisory panel voted Thursday to recommend an emergency use authorization for Pfizer's new coronavirus vaccine.
So we do have a favorable vote.
The final tally was 17 in favor, 4 opposed, and 1 abstaining. The FDA is expecting to follow the panel's guidance and has promised to act quickly. And it will trigger one of the biggest public health projects in U.S. history.
Within 24 to 48 hours from that advisory committee decision, we will actually have shots in arms.
Developing an effective vaccine in record time was a challenge. Delivering it may be an even bigger one.
We know we're going to get enough for everyone, but obviously we won't have enough for everyone on the very first shipment.
Pfizer is ramping up production to meet the demand for the vaccine. The federal government plans to supply it to states based on population. Hospitals and pharmacies are scrambling to prepare, installing special freezers needed to keep the medicine at 94 degrees below zero. The FDA's decision on the vaccine comes as the U.S. continues to set records in COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. Many experts have expressed hope that this will mark the beginning of the end of the pandemic.
I cannot roll up my sleeve fast enough to get this vaccination.
The FDA's vaccine panel will next weigh in on the one made by Moderna. It's also on track for public release by the end of the year. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Silver Spring, Maryland.
Well, 2 of today's no votes were from panel members concerned about giving the vaccine to 16 and 17-year-olds. One told the Washington Post he would enthusiastically voted yes if the authorization had been restricted to those 18 and up. Well, today a new tradition was launched at Billings Clinic. The clinic felt it was time to recognize and celebrate some of its successes. It's called Code Joy, and from today forward, a short segment of Beethoven's Ode to Joy will be played overhead whenever a COVID-19 patient is discharged from the hospital. The first Code of Joy played this afternoon as hospital doctors and staff joined in when COVID survivor Terry Field left Billings Clinic after 5 days of being hospitalized.
This gives lots of people hope. More people are recovering than not recovering, so there's a lot of hope there. This is a neat celebration of recovery, and I really feel blessed to be the first one to get the honor.
COVID has led to some businesses struggling and some closing. A Big Sky Economic Development Progress Report shows a decrease in some of the economic numbers. A Zoom meeting this afternoon outlined some of the challenges. Building permits increased for the year compared to last year, mainly in residential construction. Business license renewals were slightly down compared to 2019. The Billings Airport running at 60% of normal, but better than the nationwide average of 30%. And currently there are more job listings and unemployment claims, but Yellowstone County's economy relies on some of the most vulnerable industries.
We are looking at, when this first happened, we were turning to an economic analysis firm that really looked at the vulnerability of counties throughout the nation. And some of you may have heard this before, but Yellowstone County is in the top 10% of most vulnerable counties. And that comes from the fact that we are really a regional hub. So many people come to our community for things like professional services, for recreation, for hospitality. So we are more vulnerable than some of our peer communities.
And that meeting also included reports from several businesses as well as those working in healthcare. Tonight, Billings police need the public's help in locating a murder suspect in a deadly shooting that happened nearly 2 weeks ago. Manuel Martinez was shot outside of a church on Broadwater Avenue on Monday, November 30th, before being run over by a car. Police described the shooting suspect as a 6-foot-tall man who was wearing a black hoodie, dark pants, and carrying a backpack the night of the shooting. The shooting happened just before 9 o'clock in the intersection of 4th Street West and Broadwater Avenue. Detectives are asking anyone with residential surveillance cameras in that area to contact the police department. Meanwhile, Billings police and firefighters are investigating a suspected arson that happened in North Billings this afternoon. According to a tweet from the Billings Police Department, the fire began at 1:30 at a residence in the 100 block of North 23rd Street. Firefighters were able to contain the fire to the portion of the residence where it started. Police say the suspect is not in custody but is known to the victim. Well, the Senate's expected to follow suit with the House of Representatives in passing this year's $740.5 billion defense bill. Included in that legislation, a provision introduced by Senator John Tester that will expand coverage for veterans still feeling the effects of Agent Orange. MTN's John Riley has more.
Deer Lodge native Rodney Williams will be one of the veterans expanded Agent Orange coverage will directly benefit. Williams was drafted into the U.S. Army in 1966 to serve in Vietnam, during which he had exposure to the compound. More than 50 years later, he's still living with the consequences of the government's actions.
My hyperthyroidism got so bad, I was having trouble with my heart, and things like that. And I had to have they operated on it, and they found cancer in there, so they took my whole thyroid out.
Hyperthyroidism is fairly rare in men, and Williams says he doesn't have any family history for the condition. A 2016 study of VA patients found that veterans exposed to Agent Orange had a higher prevalence of thyroid cancer. The amendment will ultimately expand care for 34,000 veterans across the country, ensuring they receive care for hyperthyroidism, Parkinson's, and bladder cancer associated with Agent Orange. Senator Tester says the legislation helps America keep its promise of taking care of its veterans.
It's more than just health care. Anytime you get these conditions, it affects your quality of life and affects your ability to be all you can be. And so this also impacts disability pay too.
The VA has been conducting research on the connection between veterans exposed to Agent Orange and the development of Parkinson's, hyperthyroidism, and bladder cancer. That research was delayed due to the COVID pandemic. The passage of the legislation will circumvent the need for that research in order for vets to receive expanded care and benefits. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
Senator Steve Daines also supported efforts to expand Agent Orange care for veterans and pushed for the inclusion of that amendment in October with 45 other senators. Montana Congressman and Governor-elect Greg Gianforte apparently is supporting a last-ditch effort by the state of Texas and President Trump to overturn the results of the presidential election in 4 key states. Gianforte is one of 106 House Republicans today who've signed on to a friend of the court brief supporting the lawsuit filed by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Paxton is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to take the case and to invalidate results in 4 battleground states, all won by Democrat Joe Biden: Michigan, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Montana Attorney General Tim Fox, also a Republican, had Montana join that lawsuit yesterday. As of this afternoon, Gianforte's office had not returned a message asking for comment on his action. In Wyoming, Representative Liz Cheney has co-sponsored a resolution supporting President Trump's efforts to ensure that every legal vote is counted, but did not sign on to that motion. And Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon supports the Supreme Court hearing the issue, but says Wyoming would not join the lawsuit. Some Republicans have distanced themselves from that Texas lawsuit, calling it a dangerous precedent to have one state asking federal courts to police other states' voting procedures. Well, as legal and political maneuvering on the presidential election continues before the courts and elsewhere, Montana's 3 presidential electors are preparing to gather in Helena next week to do their job, vote for the person who won the state. The 3 electors will be voting for President Trump, who won Montana by about 16 percentage points over Joe Biden. All 3 are Republicans chosen by their party: State Representative Brad Cheetah of Missoula, Becky Stockton of Helena, and 88-year-old Thelma Baker of Missoula. Baker, who had a stroke 6 months ago and is in a wheelchair, will still make the journey to Helena on Monday, where the electors will cast their vote in person at the Capitol. Baker's cast an electoral vote for the winning presidential candidate in Montana for the past 6 elections, going back to George W. Bush in 2000. They'll be joining electors from across the country Monday in casting their votes, and those votes will then be forwarded to Congress. Joe Biden has been certified the winner in states with 306 electoral votes compared to President Trump's 232 electoral votes. Still ahead on the MTN 9 o'clock news, a sign of light. The Jewish holiday of Hanukkah getting started tonight. We'll let you know how it's being celebrated this year. 1st December is upon us. Bob's in next with a 7-day forecast.